Tonight, I want you to realize that our schools and our school system are at a crossroad. Frederick County Public School System has demonstrated ongoing success in the area of student achievement, our core mission. Our students consistently score on tests that are above the state and national average. I, as a superintendent, take great pride in being able to share the many, many accolades that our staff and students receive, not only locally, but across the state, the nation, and even internationally. We have much to be proud of. Quality staff, quality students have given us quality results, and that is a legacy that we want to build on. For the last 7 years, the road we have traveled has been built by funding that was at the maintenance of effort level. And when I say maintenance of effort, I'm talking about funding that stays exactly steady. So whatever I've given you per student in this year will be the same this year and that year. And year after year after year of that kind of funding has created a lot of roadblocks, delays, detours for us in continuing that legacy of achievement that I talked about. One of the huge roadblocks you encounter on a road that's defined by maintenance of effort funding is that it never accounts for inflationary cost. And I've said that many times, but I want to share some numbers with you that will give you a sense of what that really means. Since 2009, our medical insurance costs have risen 24%. The amount we have to pay in required contracted services has gone up 21%. The cost of living index has gone up 9.3%, while what we have spent on salaries has risen a mere 3.7%. So when we begin our budget conversation, the first thing we have to take a look at are the costs that have increased. So this year, out of the gate, we knew that we were going to have to find $6.8 million to merely cover inflationary costs in our budget. Another obstacle that you'll encounter when you're receiving maintenance of effort funding is that you're not really able to address unfunded mandates. Mandates that are requirements, sometimes laws, coming from the state, sometimes laws coming from the federal government. And many times these requirements come with no additional funding to support them. Well, if your funding is flat, but you have to do more things like create a new curriculum, prepare for new assessments, have a new teacher evaluation system, provide pre-K services for students in poverty or students receiving special education. Without additional funding, that takes a toll. Actually, that idea of maintenance of effort is really a misnomer because you don't maintain. We have to cut in order to keep doing business. And for many years, our Board of Education and our staff have had to make very difficult and untenable decisions. Decisions that they hoped would have as little direct impact on our students in the classroom as possible. You can see some of the cuts that have been made in year after year of maintenance of effort funding. Roadblocks and detours to enabling us to do some of the things that we wanted to do. For me, one of the scariest roadblocks we encounter with maintenance of effort funding is the stagnation of salaries. The very first budget I presented as superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools, I talked about the need to make our salaries more competitive. I was concerned. We were offering new teachers the 22nd lowest salary in the state. We were ranking 22 out of 24 school systems. I was worried then. It saddens me to say that tonight, our starting salary for new teachers ranks 23rd out of 24. We are practically at the bottom. We've headed backwards, not forwards. And I worry about the message that sends to potential employees, whether it be a teacher or a bus driver or a maintenance worker. If your community is constantly giving you the bare minimum in funding, what's the incentive to join that organization? And is maintaining really all we would expect? Right now, the amount that we spend per pupil is $1,200 less than the state average. The state average. That puts us in the bottom quarter of funding for our students. That makes us below average. Is below average okay in anything that we want to do for our students? I don't know a parent or a teacher who would agree with that. Roadblocks, detours, delays, obstacles. The other toll that comes from maintenance of effort funding are the lost opportunities, the deferred investments in our students. Over the last 3 years, we have requested many things in looking at our budget. We talked about the need to add math specialists for every elementary school. We knew the math curriculum was going to become more rigorous. We wanted to support our students and our teachers in that critical area. We asked to have advanced academic specialists at every elementary school, wanting to be sure that every highly able student would receive services in their home school, and that we would be talent spotting with students across the spectrum. We tried a pilot to introduce foreign language in the elementary schools. Think about the incredible edge that that would give our students in a global society. We couldn't sustain it. We can't go forward with it. We talked about expanding our Career and Technology Center. So many wonderful, unique programs that make our students ready to enter the workforce or go on to college. The waiting list there is huge. $800,000 is what it would have cost us to staff expanded programs and some new programs. We had the facility, but the board couldn't be sure that they could sustain that level of funding going forward if we only received maintenance of effort. We also talked about the increasing mental health needs. We have nearly 10,000 students who live in poverty, many students who are homeless, more and more students who are coming to us from countries where they've received no schooling at all, where they've been traumatized by violence in their home country. And we all know about the growing concern about drug use in our county. Maintenance of effort funding isn't going to enable you to add on, to expand. So you're delayed, you're denied, or you're deferred. It's time for a new road. We need a new road forward. We are standing at a very critical crossroad right now for our schools, but also for our entire community. We need to make the choices that are going to lead to economic vitality, increased income, and better preparation for college and career for our students. I know that we all share that vision. And the good news is that our Board of Education for the last 6 months has been working to develop the roadmap that is going to enable us to achieve that vision. With the collaboration of many community members, from staff, from students, we have been working on an update to our strategic plan, which was 10 years old. It was time. And we talked a lot about what did we want to see our school system be, our aspirational goals, and the priorities around each of those aspirational goals that would make a difference for our students. So I have to tell you, it was really exciting when we sat down to do the budget this year to have these new goals in front of us, these priorities, and they aligned perfectly with what the community was telling us was important. So, tonight, as we look at the request in my budget, we're going to see how they line up with those aspirational goals. The first goal is not going to surprise you because the first goal is about what is at the heart of our business, and that is student achievement. Listen to the power of the words in this goal. FCPS will equip each and every student to be an empowered learner and an engaged citizen who has a positive impact on the local and global community. Can you feel that? Maybe this video will help you see it.
At FCPS, student achievement is our #1 goal and our #1 focus. We care about all of our students, our high achievers, our low achievers, and there are little things that every teacher can do to address students in both of those categories. For example, one of the things that I think is very powerful for any teacher in FCPS is to make that connection. Whether it's the student who's earning an A in every single class and has picked up a 4-year scholarship to a college of their choice, or the student that struggles every day to make it to school.
Each day in the classroom I try to make sure that we have activities where every student's going to be actively engaged, that every student's going to be participating, and that students are going to be discussing with each other, whatever the problem or the task is for that particular day. I think that allows students to sort of rise to the occasion. I think it's important that we have a rigorous curriculum and that each day students are sort of pushed to be and to do a little bit more than they sort of feel comfortable with.
The teachers really help me in the way that I feel the pressure, but it's not so much that I feel like I'm not going to succeed. It's enough to make me perform my highest. I feel like my teachers and the different courses that I've taken have really helped me achieve and prepared me for a college.
When I think about student achievement, I want to see that students have the interest and the desire to come to school. And I think when we start thinking about how do we individualize our attention, our opportunities, the services we are providing, those are all things that we can use to really address the broad student achievement in the academics, in the social environment that we have here, and also just in preparation for the larger world.
Relationships with teachers that care, that are going to push you to be the best you can be. We need high quality instruction going on in every classroom that supports collaboration, complex problem solving, fosters inquiry, and asks students to look at the world as a great critical thinker. Those are the 21st century skills our students are going to need to be successful in the 21st century workforce and college. We also know, as you looked at that video, you could see faces that could have been from around the world. The diversity in our school system is an incredible gift to us. And we want to make sure when we talk about student achievement that there are no gaps in achievement for any student group. Those two priorities are what that aspirational goal is about. And student achievement is at the heart of everything we do. So while I'm going to talk to you about a budget request that aligns with aspirational goal 1, it's really important to remember that every one of those aspirational goals ultimately leads back to this first one, student achievement. So in my budget request, you will see $1.8 million to add additional staff because we expect increased enrollment, particularly among our students who are English language learners. That's one of our fastest growing student groups, and we want to make sure that we have the right staffing levels in all of our schools to address the needs of every learner. The second aspirational goal in our new roadmap talks about the people who are going to make it happen. Not just teachers, but the bus drivers, the maintenance workers, the accountants, people who put these videos together. Every employee in this organization makes a difference for children every day. And so this goal says that FCPS will hire and retain staff who champion excellence, personal excellence, professional excellence, and excellence for students. It's at the heart of what we do, and it's at the heart of this next video clip.
Right now, for first-year teachers with a bachelor's degree, we rank 23rd out of 24 counties in Maryland. It's critical to pay our staff because our staff has to live. They have to be able to afford living accommodations, they have to be able to afford gas, they have to be able to afford transportation. We've had some recent hires that talk about the difficulty of paying their commuting cost. They've had difficulty living in Frederick County and Frederick City, so they commute. But on top of that, they have expenses with maintaining their automobile, keeping up with the gas and things of that nature. So it's important for them to have a good quality of life outside the classroom.
I just purchased a home that is within our school district area, the feeder areas of our West Frederick Middle School. And it was a big source of pride for me to live in the community that I teach, to be a part of this community because it's all connected.
This is a very holistic school system. It's not just about teachers. It's about those custodians that keep our classrooms safe for public use. It's about our instructional assistants that help the teachers every day and that assist the students in the classroom. It's about the whole entire system.
There's not enough hours in the day for us to prep, to assess our students, to make connections with the community, with other teachers, with parents. And actually be a parent, actually be a member of a family.
It's critical that the budget represent the professional respect that teachers have in and outside the classroom. It's once again part of our lifestyle, and it would be great to be able to recruit and retain teachers to say we appreciate what you do every day in and out of the classroom.
The most precious asset we have in this organization are the people. The employees who have delivered for us time and time again. You heard that need for respect, for appreciation. One of the Twitter feeds indicated the question, can we afford the consequences of our non-competitive salaries? Many of the tweets indicated what they were most proud of, the outstanding colleagues that they work with. Respect and appreciation for every employee and the role they play in this organization. Stagnated salaries are just unacceptable. The message it sends about us as a community and how we value the people who do the work, the importance of being able to have teachers come who can afford to live here and contribute, not only in their school, but in their neighborhoods and in our county, is critical. In my budget request, you will see that I have asked for $14.3 million as part of a salary and staffing resource pool. One of the most critical components to getting the job done. And remember, when we support our employees, we are supporting our students. That human capital resource is critical. And our third aspirational goal talks about the resources that we in FCPS need to pursue and utilize. From people to time to materials to equipment. Aspirational goal number 3 says that FCPS will pursue, and that's the journey we're beginning tonight, and utilize our resources strategically and responsibly to achieve the desired outcomes, but also to inspire public confidence. Our next video talks about a resource that I hear often from the community you believe is critical, for our 21st century learners.
We're really excited. This year we were able to put in the middle schools over 2,400 Chromebooks, 30 iPads per middle school, and we're about to roll out 7-inch tablets that will be coming to the schools.
Usually when people think about resources, they think about money, fiscal resources. But resources are much more than that. People are resources, and technology is a resource. And it's a priority because this is the way the world is going. We're preparing the citizens of tomorrow. It has been a rapid transformation because 2 years ago we didn't have any of this. It has been wonderful this past year to get the technology we need to do the work the teachers have been wanting to do. But to get it into the students' hands instead of just one teacher or a couple of students has been revolutionizing. When people feel like technology isn't a good use, it's sometimes they haven't seen it in action, or they haven't seen it properly being used, because it's a tool. Technology is not a magic bullet. It's not the answer to everything. It's a tool.
Technology is just one of the tools our teachers are using to help students succeed. For us, it's a mix of proven instructional strategies with modern tools and resources. It's a balance. Technology is important, but it's just one of the tools we use to support the teaching and learning process. At FCPS, we use all of our resources strategically to help students succeed.
Technology. I hear a lot about that from our staff, from our students, from our community, from our business leaders. Last year, one-time funding from the county, coupled with grants that we received, enabled us to do the Chromebook initiative in our middle schools. We have teachers out there using Google Classroom, digital learning platforms. We talk about the digital transformation in our schools. Many times when you start to talk about technology, though, sometimes people get a little nervous, they're a little uncertain. So I often invite business leaders and community members to come into our schools and see it in action. They walk in a little unsure. They walk out completely amazed at what they see our students doing. But you heard Mr. Saunders say, technology is one tool. I also hear from teachers the need for textbooks and reading materials that will align with our new curriculum, that will push students to a higher level of engagement with written text. So in my budget, we ask for $500,000 to support our ongoing efforts to increase the amount of a technology replacement and refresh cycle in our budget. And with this $500,000, we would be at $1 million. That's not enough to get everything we need, but having it in there and continuously building on it puts us on a road to get better. We also are asking for $500,000 for curricular materials and resources, once again to support our staff and students in having the most relevant and up-to-date learning tools in the classroom. But once again, the technology, the materials are tools. The magic comes by the delivery of the teacher with the students. Our fourth aspirational goal talks about the importance of things like tonight. It says that we will nurture relationships with families and the community, sharing in student success, and instilling pride in all aspects of the school system. Technology sometimes enables us to do that engagement in many different ways, like Twitter. Many times it also comes down to relationships and being part of a team. Take a look at the team in this next video and the power they have to support our students.
For FCPS, an engaged community means having having an environment in our schools that welcomes parents. And that is critically important because we know what value that brings to students. We know our students achieve better when our parents are involved. We know that typically their behavior's better, and it impacts their attendance in a positive way.
It means basically the parent involvement and community involvement, not just in the school, but in all aspects of our children's lives. It also shows the school that they're valuable to the parents too, because we're contributing our time to help in their efforts.
Really, this is our future here within these four walls. I think that it's a worthy investment of your time and energy to rally around the community that is a school.
It doesn't take money, it just takes a little bit of time, and that's something that we all have. It doesn't have to be done in the school either. You can take projects home and help out at home with your time, watching TV at night, helping cut things out. You know, there's a multitude of ways to do it, but I think it really does benefit not only your own children, but the school, and then of course the broader community if we can generate that in future generations.
It really creates an environment of your school being the place where things happen. And I think that having our business partners be in our schools also helps to elevate their understanding of the incredible job that teachers are doing. Engagement both from communities and families happens on lots of different levels. And I think what's important for us as a school and a system to recognize is any and all involvement is a good thing. And so if it's a parent who can volunteer 2 to 3 times a week, if it's a business that sends over people to read with children once a month, or if it's a business that supports our community in a different way, the meaning behind the support is really what matters. It's a joint effort on a common goal.
I think those parents and our administrators said it so well. Schools are at the heart of our community. We touch the lives of almost every citizen in Frederick County. And when we work together with our families, with our community members, with our business community, we make a difference. I am really proud of the many different ways that I have seen our staff working to build those relationships and sustain that engagement with the community. We've done a lot with social media. This year we had our first ever system-wide back-to-school night in collaboration with the Eliminating the Achievement Gap community group, where we brought folks in to learn more about our curriculum, to talk about new assessments. We have a community engagement council that's been giving us feedback on how we do things. The board just recently advertised for and invited people to join a Citizens Advisory Committee. We want to continue with those types of strategies, like our Academic Business Connection that partners business volunteers with the needs of our schools. In my budget this year, we're asking for $150,000 to enable us to get a new survey tool and reporting system, because we want to know if what we're doing is enough. We want to know what types of engagement matter, make a difference, work for the community. The beauty of this new tool is that it will be much better than previous surveys, where it will be tailored to each individual stakeholder group. And the reporting will be quickly available to us and will guide us in continuous improvement efforts. We want a culture in our schools and in our community that is inclusive. Our 5th aspirational goal talks about another type of culture that we want to nurture in our school buildings, and that is to foster a culture that promotes wellness and civility for our students and staff. The community told us that safety was important, that they want to be sure students are entering an environment that is safe and respectful. We're committed to that, and that covers so many facets. And this next video shows a very critical facet in that culture of wellness and civility.
We just sampled some of the new food that the cafeteria is starting to sell in the school. And we had a lot of breakfast food samples, and then we also had some tacos and some new cheese.
Well, because of the regulations that have changed over the years, manufacturers are always coming out with new products to meet guidelines. So we want to get input from them before we just put something on the menu.
I had never really tasted what the cafeteria had before, that it made me more inclined to actually try it, especially because they were asking for our input, which makes it feel like it's actually more catered to us. I think it's good to see that they've evolved with the times and everyone being more health conscious and they're following the trend.
I learned that they're taking efforts to make it more healthy for us, which I really liked, because in one of the foods they reduced the sodium, so that was great to hear. They do a good job of having different variety of options for us to eat, and I think a lot of my friends are also vegetarians, and they also get lunch from school. I think knowing that what efforts they take and how they're trying to make it healthier for us, I would definitely try to buy food from school now. I usually pack lunch, but this has changed my mind.
School nutrition has always been a priority for us, and it's critically important now when we know that 26% of our students who are living in poverty rely on the breakfast and lunch that we can provide for them at school. I am so proud of the fact that our schools participated in the Maryland Breakfast Challenge to bring awareness to the importance of a healthy breakfast and the impact that can have on student achievement. We've shown many efforts this year that support our commitment to safety and wellness in our school buildings. We have put emergency notification systems in all of our schools. We now have camera buzzer entry access for all of our school buildings. We installed updated bus radios so that communication as our students are traveling on the road is much easier. And we are also committed to working on ways to support wellness initiatives for our staff, because they are important and matter so very, very much to us too. In this year's budget, the safety emphasis comes with a request for $1.3 million to replace some of the oldest buses in our school system fleet. We want students arriving at our door safe and happy, and having our equipment up to date in our fleet is critical to us. So that is the request that aligns with aspirational goal number 5. We have always used a strategic approach to setting the priorities for our budget, and we have always designed a budget that is responsible. We recognize that we have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. I want to share with you, though, once again, how that has evolved in the years since I started making these budget requests. I described that road that we've been on, the excitement of being at a crossroad, but it's going to be impossible to undo all that has been done in one budget year. But we have to begin building toward that future. So back in 2011 and 12, when I was proposing operating budget for FY13, I asked for $4 million above maintenance of effort. At the time, that was 0.8% above what it would have been level funding. By the next year, I was asking for 2.9% over maintenance of effort. Last year, I asked for 3.3% over maintenance of effort. This year, the $23.6 million request that you see is 4.4% above maintenance of effort. Moving from 0.8 to 4.4% shows that while we may have deferred those needs did not go away, and we have much that we have to make up as we move forward. I am very hopeful as we stand at this crossroad, because I do believe we are ready to embark on a new cycle of investment in our students. Our new county executive and the county council made it very clear that public education is a priority for them. County Executive Gardner has stated that she wants to provide us with funding that is above maintenance of effort, and I applaud her for that. I also know that she faces some challenges as she begins to look at her budget. And I have told her personally, but I know that she already knew this, that in Frederick County Public Schools, she will find a strong and committed partner. We will work together with our county to build a stronger and more vibrant community. I am asking each of you to help us in supporting our vision at this crossroad, to support our efforts to put us on that new road, that road of investment. Because while we've been on that maintenance of effort road, some of the counties around us haven't been taking those detours and delays. They've been on an easier road. They've progressed a little further. They have recognized what we are going to have to come to grips with. And that is when you don't move forward, you fall behind. So at this crossroad, we are ready to move forward. This is step one. The details of my budget are going to be on our webpage. And in the coming weeks, the Board of Education will have to grapple with all of these numbers. What we need most from you is that you stay involved and engaged in that process and you continue to advocate. Board of Education will hold a public hearing on the budget on Wednesday, February the 4th at Oakdale High School at 7 p.m. Please come out and talk to them about your priorities, what you believe is essential to put us on this new road going forward. Continue your advocacy at the county, at the state. But most of all, continue to be a partner with us in making this vision a reality. Know that during this process, you might see numbers start to change. Final funding formulas will start to come into play. Inflationary factors, health insurance cost. Many times we can't finalize that until we're near the end of the cycle. But I can promise you this, that while those numbers may change, our priorities will not. We are at that crossroad, that place of hope, that place of possibility, the road before us that takes us forward with the right kind of investment for our students. It is time, the right time, to do the right thing for our schools. And I believe we are poised to do that. We are ready. Frederick County Public Schools is ready to start that new journey. And I so hope that you are going to come along with us. Thank you for being here this evening. Thanks to everybody who has been tweeting. This has been a bit of a one-way conversation. The lights have come up. I do believe we have some microphones. We have lovely ladies holding the microphones. If you have questions or comments that you want to make, now's the time. Well, you have to be one of the easiest audiences I've ever met then. If there are, please come over to the end and take a mic.
Good evening, Dr. Alban. I have a question. About 2 years ago, I remember on the ballot, we were voting for allowing casinos and lottery money in Maryland, and the promise was that some of that was going to go into education. Is that trickling through at all? Was that realistic? And would that affect any money that we receive?
Well, the casinos became realistic.
Yes.
I know that some of the revenue projections for the casinos have not reached the level that the state had hoped. And I'm going to say this, and if I'm wrong, Leslie, I want you to start shaking your head no. My understanding is that the revenue from the casinos is going into the general fund for the state. It has not been dedicated specifically for education. Am I okay so far? It's in an education trust fund, but they can use that fund to balance the general budget. The state formulas for funding education have not changed. So the slots for TOTS has not necessarily resulted in the additional funding that we had hoped.
Thank you. And then if I've got another question as well.
Please, go ahead.
You talked about having a global priority for our students, and yet having languages at an age where it is most important hasn't worked out. I was sitting next to my friend who said, well, if we're having languages in high school, which is one of the most difficult times where you can start learning a language, although, kind of mentally you're still more open to it in your teens. Why aren't we pumping that in at the bottom level if we really are interested in getting our kids to be more globally focused? I mean, things like Mandarin, or whether it be Spanish or German. Apparently you get more return on your resume if you've got German than anything else other than English. So why aren't we looking at, turning some of our traditional thinking on its head and saying, well, let's start with it with the younger kids and then see where we can get funding as they get older, and also looking again more strategically to some international business partners who may be willing to kind of work, with providing language education in some way.
I love turning traditional thinking on its head, and that's a marvelous idea. It's just that we can't do it solo. So in the world of world languages, we can't completely take staffing that's at the high school level to bring it down to the elementary, because for many of our students, that's a college requirement, an entrance requirement. So having world languages available at high school continues to be very important for our students. The pilot we tried at the elementary school level, we were trying to use our existing staff to do that as well, and that just really was not sustainable. And then we thought about trying to look at like an after-school program. Well, then you limit sometimes which students can participate when you do that. So to truly do it at the elementary level would take staffing, and that takes money. So that's part of it. We have been in negotiations with a group of educators from South Korea, and have been trying to form a partnership there, because their embassy will sometimes support teaching languages, specifically Korean, in schools. And so we are continuing dialogue in that way. But if you know of any other businesses or organizations that would enable us to look for grant funding or possibilities that would support a way to do that, don't leave, stay, write things down, give me the information, because we are very, very interested in pursuing that. Great questions, thank you.
Dr. Alban, we have a question in the back.
Hello. The community around Centerville was a planned community. We knew in advance how many houses and families would be living there. But within just a few years after building Centerville, suddenly the trailers went up behind there. That makes me feel that possibly the method used to estimate the number of children and therefore the size of the Centerville school, the method used was very, very poor. Has that method been improved? Because I believe there's plans now to go ahead and build a new school to replace the Urbana school. And I'm concerned that we're shooting ourselves in the foot, setting ourselves up for failure by building a school that within a couple years after being built, it also is going to require the trailers behind there just because we are not planning appropriately.
Boy, there are so many questions in that question. You asked so well. First of all, the budget to fund the building of schools and to do renovations on schools is the capital budget. This budget presentation is strictly the operating budget, so that's why there's no mention of things like that in what we talked about this evening. The construction of schools also relies very heavily on state funding, and so we have to advocate at the state level to try to get support for these projects. In terms of what happened in Urbana, we do our best with our planning tools. We also have planners from the state who will look at our numbers. We hit a point in Frederick County where like 2,000 units a year were being filled and going up. Right now, I believe we're like around 100. So it was a rather unusual time. But to answer your question, yes, that methodology for making projections continuously is reevaluated. But like anything, if you're going to get a good projection model, you need trend data. And so it took several years of trends. And one of the things we've also found with the economic downturn is that some of those models got a little bit strained because we suddenly had families moving back in with grandparents or multiple families coming together, and so some of those traditional models have become a little more challenging. Our projections for our school system are usually pretty good. That was a challenging time. And I just wanted to clarify that there will be a new elementary school being built in Urbana, Sugarloaf Elementary, and then a proposed renovation of the old Urbana Elementary School, which would create a new school with a greater capacity to handle that there. At this point, we don't think it will open and have portables behind it in the next year. And I think that's a pretty safe projection because I'm not sure there's that much more room left in Urbana to build more houses, but you know, you never know. So we do our best. It's important to realize too that as a state, I think we have several $100 billion in deferred building maintenance and renovation cost that has been accumulated. So sometimes it's not just the planning, it's the years and years you have to wait to get the funding for these big projects. And if you want to talk about years and years of waiting, I'm sure there are some folks here from Frederick High who would be happy to share their saga in waiting for their building to get renovated. Great question. Others? Somebody was raising their hand.
Good evening. I'm new to Frederick County as of late May of last year, so...
Welcome. We're glad you're here. Where did you move to?
I moved from Montgomery County.
You don't have to tell them that. I said, where did you move to? What neighborhood are you in?
Ballinger Creek.
Oh, wonderful.
My question was about the 270. I don't know how many commute down south. Obviously, in the future, hopefully soon, within the next decade, the 270 will be expanding, hopefully. Is everybody still waiting on that? No? My question is, if and when the 270 expands, and even before so, I do see in my short time here population changing as far as diversity in Frederick County, and does Frederick County Public Schools already have a plan to increase ELL funds dramatically and drastically? Is that a plan that that is already set afoot? Because I've only been here 6 months, but I see it happening very rapidly.
That is one of the fastest growing segments of our population, and you did see that, yes, staffing to support that is in the budget. We are in the process right now. I believe in the next day or two, there's going to be an ELL summit convened. We had staff who looked at some of the models that they're using in Broward County, Florida, who is one of the nationally recognized leaders in the programming that they provide for English language learners. And so we're going to be taking a look at options and ways to provide service to those students and supports. So we are looking at it, and we're doing our best to stay on that curve. I wish I could tell you we were working to stay ahead of that curve, but once again, the funding, the staffing, there have been a lot of challenges in getting there. But I'm proud of the work we've done, and I'm really excited about the summit and some of the things that are going to be coming our way. And Hillcrest Elementary, Kim Cease, are you out there somewhere? They actually started a bilingual kindergarten program this year to support their students and have been seeing some great results from that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alex Toledo. I'm going to talk a little bit about world languages and ELL community, but I'm going to give it a little bit of a different spin. We talked about world languages in the past, Dr. Alban. Clearly here has been demonstrated the interest from the community to teach young children world languages. In my case, I'm bilingual Spanish, if you cannot tell with my accent. But that being said, I think the community is looking for this kind of exposure for our children. And now I was able to get my son into Carroll Creek Montessori, where they offer dual language at young ages. Mm-hmm. I think this public charter school is helping the school system, kind of offering these type of language development for our children, and also helping the ELL community. In my case, my child speaks Spanish in the house, so being able to get him in a bilingual program helps him keep the Spanish that we want him to keep, but also develop his English language skills as well. So that being said, I see here as one of the challenges for this year or the next fiscal year is staffing and charter school allocations. So for a school like Carroll Creek that is helping the school system, what is your commitment for funding for these kind of schools, and can you expand on what the challenges are for the public charter schools?
We have, each of our charter schools has a certain enrollment capacity that they're working toward, and so when we put that in as a budget item, that is the cost of having these schools add an additional grade. And I know that Frederick Classical Charter School is adding a grade, and Carroll Creek is adding a grade as well. So the line item you see there in the budget is what we would be paying for our charter schools to add additional enrollment. So there will be another grade level at Carroll Creek Montessori School. So that's why it's in there as one of the things that is an automatic. When we sit down to do the budget, these are the things that automatically go in, and that was one of the automatic pieces that had to go in.
Thank you.
Okay?
Hi. I was wondering regarding the teacher salaries. I know you said we're 23rd, ranked 23rd. For new teachers, are we as bad for average teacher salaries, as low? And what's the actual dollar amount that we are below the highest paid teachers?
I don't have the difference off of the top of my head, and what I can tell you is I'm going to answer your question in two ways. We have a salary scale, first year teacher, and then each year as you progress. Last year we presented information to our Board of County Commissioners that showed where we ranked on every one of those steps. So a teacher with 10 years, a teacher with 15 years, a teacher with 20 years, a teacher who had a bachelor's, a teacher who had a master's. And I can tell you that in most of those steps, we were definitely in the bottom fourth of the state. So it didn't get better as people went up. There was one step where we were ranked number 6, but that is a step on our salary scale that none of our teachers have reached, because for so many years we didn't give increments. Now, there was a piece of data that was circulated a year ago or so that said, but we do really well when you look at the average teacher salary. Well, when you find the average teacher salary, you look at what people make in your school system. So if you have 300 teachers with 25 years of experience and you only have 50 teachers with 1 year of experience, your average salary is going to be higher. And so that figure really says much more about the experience level of your teachers than it does about what you're actually paying for each step. So that's the difference between looking at where you rank on a step on your scale versus where do you rank overall. Now, in the last 2 years, we have seen record numbers of retirements in our school system and a lot of experienced teachers leaving. And so in the budget document that you received tonight, you'll see a quote-unquote salary savings. And that is the projection right now that we're making with, if we have the same number of retirements next year, teachers from that higher end of the scale, and then bringing in teachers at that lower end of the scale, that would be the differential in our cost. But our rankings in salary are among the lowest in the state, all the way up and down that scale. I don't have that off the top of my head, but we can get that. I don't know if... I think it was about 5,000 to 6,000, but I can tell you that a former teacher of the year told me that she was on about step 17 with a master's in our school system, and if she took a job in Montgomery County, she would make $18,000 more. Same step for experience and education. Yes, sir. Or ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't see. I just saw a hand.
I was just going to say I can corroborate that. Being involved in one of the charter schools where the parents have some involvement in the staffing, we have had some very talented teachers turn down positions for about that amount. They wanted to come here. They love the culture of this county, but they couldn't afford essentially an $18,000 pay cut to come one county over. So that's about right.
Good evening, Dr. Alban. Happy New Year. Over here, Shauna.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So I haven't been tweeting because I don't tweet. I don't even know if I'm using the correct language, but I have been on my But I have been on my Facebook page. And one of the questions on my Facebook page is not budget related, but how do you feel about a 2-hour delay tomorrow?
Please tell me it's not snowing. You were talking to the superintendent who survived last year's polar vortex. Thank you. I think we'll be starting on time. Bundle them up.
Hello. Hello.
That way. Oh, with the sweet, adorable little coos.
Hi there.
Hi.
I moved from out of state to here 2 years ago, and before I moved here and knew that we were coming to the county, I was hoping to find a dual immersion school because my children had been able to enjoy that in the other state that we were in for 6 years, and found that the only dual immersion schools that were available were in the only charter
That's right.
school.
Yes.
And I attempted to have my children attend there, but because it's lottery based, they didn't get selected. So I was wondering if there has been enough interest in the community to have one open in an area in which, for instance, if there were Spanish, that there was enough staff and parents or enough parents and teachers with the capability to provide a language for the community, if that had been researched yet and looked as a possibility, so that parents who aren't fortunate enough to be able to get into the lottery school could have that in the public school system, because it is available in other states and it's an excellent program and my children just thrived in it.
As I indicated, we didn't talk about an immersion program. We did talk about trying to bring foreign language to our elementary schools. Trust me, I understand the difference. You asked, what has the conversation been? That was what the conversation was before. Once again, I have Board of Education members sitting here tonight. Your feedback is being, taken into consideration. It can certainly become part of the budget conversation this year. Once again, the challenge is how much would it cost at a time when we're trying to do many different things. But it is a wonderful thing, and definitely something that I know we will continue to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is about teacher salaries. Obviously, it's come, I guess, to a pretty standstill. But apart from teacher salaries, is there a budget for professional development? Is that also the same every year? Has that increased? Because if we can't hire, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but quality teachers because of salary challenges, is there at least a specific budget directed or specifically targeting professional development?
We do have funds within the budget that support professional development. That was not one of the things that we looked to increase this year. But there are funds there. We have a lot of opportunities for our new teachers as they go through the first 3 years. We have actually, what has happened in the last 4 years with the cuts that we've taken to central office positions, a lot of the people who used to go out and do professional development in the schools, we've really turned a lot more to a trainer of trainer models, and teachers within our school system come and get trained and then go back and take that training to their schools. So we've seen a lot of that responsibility transcend down to the school level more than it did in the past.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I see one more.
Okay.
Dr. Alban, I'm a staff member. I don't know if you can see me or not.
I
It doesn't
can
matter.
see you, Billy. How are you?
I feel moved at this moment to just sort of bear witness to your superintendency, to our board's outstanding participation. What I hope at this crossroad will be a movement forward. I graduated from the system in '72. I've traveled to numerous countries. I was a Spanish major. I chose to come back to Frederick at a time when our school system was not very good. I had participated in a school system in my early years in Dade County, Florida, which was #1 in the country at the time. When we moved back here, my first week at school, my mother said, "I'm very sorry, honey, but I needed to come back here," because my dad had died. And she said, "I don't know what this will do to your education." Fortunately, I had outstanding teachers. Some of them now, their children are educators in the system. I have a master's. I've stuck with the school board. You've been good to me. I've tried to be good to you. And I just want to say to the community, as staff, we have worked. I have seen in 39 years this school system go from one of the worst to one of the best in our state, in our nation. At a crossroads, I could retire as of last month. I'm with you. There may not be a whole lot of staff, that were able to come tonight. You have a lot of support out there. And I just hope the community will belly up and give their support. We may be silent, but we are strong, we are in the wings, and we are supporting you. Thank you very much.
I think that would be an amazing way to end. Thank you, Billy. That was very heartfelt. And I want to say to our friends who are new to this county, I've only been here for 4 years. I came when I had the honor of being named superintendent of this school system. This is a wonderful place to raise a family and to be part of a community. It is an incredible place. It's been a long, rough road, but it's been the people in this school system who have kept it top-notch. And this is an important crossroad, but I really believe we're going to start turning the corner. I really do. So thank you all for being here tonight. Please continue to engage and advocate and make sure you get home safely. Thank you.